Hey guys, it's Lindsay from Stillwaters Ranch, and today I have two of my great friends, Harrison and Lucas, with me, who are solar experts. Now, we have a solar system on our house, and they're going to tell us what we have, some recommendations if you're going to get a solar system and what to look out for, and what we would like to upgrade our system to. So our solar system on our house right now isn't quite producing where we're zeroing out with the grid. And so we're still pulling quite a bit of energy from the grid, and we would like to be more self-sustainable and produce as much of our own power and save as much of our own power as possible. So you guys, do y'all want to tell us what we have on our roof currently?
Yeah. So right now you have 20 250 watt solar panels.
Okay.
25 of them.
25 of them. 20 on the south, 5 on the west. And a 5 kW inverter.
Okay.
So
What's an inverter real fast?
inverter is so the panels are producing DC power, and the inverter is the electrical component that converts it into AC power that you can then use to power your home.
Okay.
We were just looking at the inverter and checking its production history for this year, and we came up with, let's say, about 5,800 kilowatt hours. And Lindsay has been telling us that their average is about 52 kilowatt hours per day. And so it's a balancing act. So what we're trying to balance is adding solar to bring their consumption from the grid close to zero as possible. Because there's a lot of fluctuating variables, it's a balancing act. It takes solar experts to do the math and figure out the optimal system. There's no real good reason right now to oversize your solar system. The most advantageous as a consumer is to try to get to net zero.
Because you don't want to oversize because the grid isn't giving you much back in return.
Because utilities, even if they are a utility that will buy back power, they're never giving you the same rate that you buy it for. It'll be a small fraction of what they charge. So it's just not an economic incentive to do it.
Especially in the smaller communities, the buyback programs are really small. Probably half of what you buy it for.
Yeah, here I think we get barely anything when we give back to the grid in the heat of the day. So how should we upgrade this? What should we do here?
I would say the beauty of this site is the wide open roof space and lack of really tall shade trees. Now, shade trees are never a bad thing, but they don't mix well with solar. So part of the design is going to be doing a shade analysis of any site. It could be on the roof. A lot of people in areas like this can do ground mounts. This one is going to be on the roof because they have such a good setup for it. And the system is a little dated. The technology has been...
Yeah, it was probably installed maybe 10 years ago.
So the technology has come a long way in that time. So what we're talking about doing is upgrading the panels that they have and adding to it to get to, 15.2 kW. So pretty substantial upgrade. But these are 250 watt modules, and we're looking to go with a 395 watt module. So
Wow.
So just the panel, their output potential has just increased so dramatically from 10 years ago. They do seem to have maybe hit a little bit of a plateau in that area.
So you're saying next year they're not going to produce 600 watts probably?
Well, as far as like density, so that the way they've gotten to 395 is they have increased the actual you know,
Size.
size, the area,
Physical size.
the area of the panel.
Okay.
And but like the percentage that they can convert, you know, DC power to AC power, or sorry, convert sunlight into electricity is, you know, I would say roughly around 20% efficiency.
Yeah, 20 to 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, more panels, higher wattage, and you know, also part of getting more sustainable is adding battery backup. So, Enphase is a company that has put a lot of resources to developing these kind of whole home systems, so that you can add battery backup, so that so it will be a grid tied system, so you'll always have electricity from the grid as long as the grid is running. If any kind of power outage happens on the grid, then the battery backup would be able to take over for a certain period of time. That period of time just depends on the capacity of your battery backup. And so Enphase has, and Harrison knows a lot more about this, but basically kind of designed these whole home systems that have smart transfer switches, so that if the grid does go down, the system can automatically switch to the backup, the solar and the batteries.
Wow.
To keep your refrigerator going, your lights on,
And our freezer full of meat.
freezer full of meat. Yes.
Okay.
And incorporating EV charging, which is becoming a bigger and bigger market every year.
So Enphase sounds like a really good one-stop shop if you want to upgrade into a whole home.
They are definitely industry leaders. They've stood the test of time. A lot of, you know, solar manufacturers have come and gone. Enphase has been around for a long time and seems to continually develop newer and better technology, and staying on the front end of the technological curve, or whatever you might call it.
Yeah, with the batteries too. I mean, when you live out in areas like this where the buyback isn't as high, instead of selling that power back to the electrical supplier, you can put it in the battery and then keep it at its full potential instead of getting half back. Then you can keep all your power instead of selling it back to them.
So when our solar's not producing, you know, anything because it's night, we can start pulling from our battery rather than pulling from the grid.
Yeah.
And that's going to help our bill tremendously,
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
imagine. Okay. Good. Well, do you guys have any tips for people that are thinking about getting solar? What to do, you know, what to look for, who to call, that kind of thing?
Yeah. There's some good installation companies, but there's some, you know, less
Reputable
reputable ones. I would recommend getting at least three bids, and you know, doing, you know, review searches, seeing what other people that have used these companies have to say about them, and ask lots of questions. Make them, you know, show you, because they can show you pretty accurate estimates of you know, what this system that they're proposing should produce. There's a free website that you could go onto called PV Watts, which is a relatively simple solar production calculator. So you could go back and double check their estimates with the, you know, the pretty much the national standard calculator for solar production. You're going to want to also, if possible, if you've lived in your house for at least a year, it's good to look at the last year of your consumption history, which nowadays is very conveniently located. Lindsay just showed us on Bluebonnet's website. Real easy to pull up. in Austin Energy, if you get a hard copy of your bill or the electronic copy, it has a little bar graph that can be used. It's kind of a rough estimate, but it's good to have that gauge for assessing the proposals that the companies are going to give you. Because again, if they're pushing just too big a system for your house, they may not have your interests in mind. So, just do your homework and ask lots of questions and get multiple bids.
The other thing I'd say is if you're preparing to get a solar system, figure out how much you've used. But if you're thinking about adding anything in the future, try to predict how much power you would use of that, per year. Because a lot of people will add solar thinking they're getting rid of their bill, but then they'll add in a pool or they'll add in, bigger
Pool,
AC
hot tub.
systems, just your consumption's going to grow. So make sure if you're investing in a 20-year solar system that you're thinking about what you're going to use in the future.
Another thing is you get the most value out of your solar system if your home is already efficient. So there's much cheaper ways to make your home more efficient that will how do I say this?
Like you may not need as many panels if you can make your home a little bit more efficient.
So
and that might
upgrade
be a better
like
price way.
insulation, upgrade, weatherization around your windows and doors, upgrading windows. Making sure that stuff is done on the front end makes your home more efficient, makes your consumption less, means you don't need as large of a solar system to meet all your electrical demand.
Any, pro and con versus roof mount, ground mount, shade, not shade. You mentioned trees. Any thoughts on that?
All of that I think is pretty much application specific, customer needs and desires specific. If you have the space, ground mounts can be great because you can orient them. Solar systems in our area do perform optimally if they're facing due south and tilted at 30 degrees. So there's some advantages that way, but if you live in the city, you might not have the space to do that. Roof makes a lot more sense, but any company that comes out to do your installation should be able to do a shade analysis on your roof. Ask for that, and don't let them put the solar where the sun don't shine.
One last question, unless they all have anything to add, but you guys have been telling me a little bit about how to maintain and get the optimal production out of my system. Do y'all have anything to add there?
Optimal production is going to be about location.
Okay.
So like the two biggest variables are which direction it's facing and what the tilt angle is.
Okay.
There's also this amazing company called Solar Service that will come out and clean your panels. It's good to get on a schedule of keeping your panels clean. That's going to keep the productivity at its optimal.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
Yeah, you want to clean it and then just be one, if you're around a lot of trees, you need to be looking out for squirrels. There's guards you can put around your solar system to make sure squirrels don't get under it, nest, chew on the wires, cause fire hazards. And then so just one, if you're not going to get the critter guards, making sure it's getting inspected, you're looking at it. And then like you said, getting them cleaned at least twice a year is good. And just having someone routinely take a look at the system, because the parts and pieces, there can be issues with them. So staying on top of it will help you keep your warranties, because a lot of the system has warranties. If you don't get it inspected, take care of things when they become problems, you can lose your warranty. But the warranties are long, like 20 years long. So as long as you stay on top of it, you'll keep those warranties.
Also, make sure you get some type of monitoring so that you can keep track of what the solar's producing. That way, if a string or part of the system goes down or the whole system goes down, you can catch it immediately and get the technicians out. Because the longer your system's not working, you know, it's just taking away from the value of this investment.
Tell me just a little bit more about monitoring. What does that look like for someone that, like me, doesn't know?
Sure. So they're become, you know, pretty user friendly. A lot of them are done through smart apps, but it's going to generally graph out your production, and you know, it's a way to, again, ensure that it's doing what it's supposed to do, catching problems as they come up, and it's just, yeah, it's a good feeling. Most people that get solar like feel good about creating their own power, and this is a way that you get to like monitor and see it on a regular basis.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Well, it sounds like we have a plan for our system. So it sounds like we're going to get new panels, some batteries. Are we going to do anything different with monitoring?
Yeah, because this is a SolarEdge system.
Okay.
So the upgrade is going to convert it to an Enphase microinverter system, and Enphase has its own monitor. Most inverter manufacturers are going to have their own monitoring system that's going to be the most compatible. You can do, you know, third-party monitoring systems, but you know, particularly with Enphase, they've just made it pretty seamless, and so y'all will get Enphase monitoring system with your upgrade.
Okay. Any other thoughts about that? What we're gonna do?
Just, you know, right now you're only making about half of your total power with these 25 panels. If we put 40 panels up on the roof, it'll double the production and fully meet all your energy needs. And then the batteries will help it to where you both have backup and you never sell anything back to the grid, so you're always getting one for one. You never have less value for your solar.
Okay.
So yeah, you should be doubling it. So because we have bigger panels, we don't have to put twice the amount of panels, but because they're bigger, we can put less than double, and yeah, it should meet 100% of your electricity.
Well, guys, if you liked this video and like watching any of our content, please hit the subscribe button and follow along on our journey of trying to become more self-sufficient and self-sustainable out here on our ranch. Also, like or comment this video if you want to show Lucas or Harrison some love for taking their time and explaining solar to all of us, but also answering all of my questions. Thanks, guys.